In No Way Home, Peter Parker was completely left alone in the world. He lost Tony Stark in Endgame. And in No Way Home, not only did he lose his Aunt May, but also, by the end of the movie, Doctor Strange cast a spell that made everyone who ever knew him across the entire multiverse forget about him. At least, that's what Marvel wants us to think. What if I told you that there's at least one MCU character that still remembers him? This is not a joke. I've analyzed every little detail surrounding this pivotal moment, and there's overwhelming evidence that Wanda Maximoff wasn't actually affected by Strange's spell. But how could Wanda resist the spell when even Strange himself couldn't escape its effects? Well, to start off, did Wanda even know who Peter Parker was? The answer might seem obvious, but if you stop to think about it, they never really interacted throughout the MCU movies. And this is an important point to address, because if she never knew who Peter was in the first place, she wouldn't have been affected by the spell anyway. We can't forget that the spell was cast to make everyone forget Peter Parker, not Spider-Man. The first time they were physically in the same place was in Civil War. And in their encounter, Peter was suited up as Spider-Man. So at that point, Wanda only knew Spider-Man, not Peter Parker. In Infinity War, their paths didn't even cross. While Wanda was hiding with Vision and only later joined the battle in Wakanda, Peter was off in space. The only real chance Wanda had to see Peter Parker was during the final battle in Endgame. And even there, they didn't interact directly. However, during that battle, we can be sure that Wanda finally saw who Spider-Man was. Peter had multiple moments where his mask was off, including moments when he was close to her. Not to mention, they both attended Tony's funeral. And after Endgame, WandaVision was the next time we saw her. And in this series is where it was given explanation by Agatha as to why Wanda wasn't affected by the spell. The WandaVision series showed us some of the abilities that the Scarlet Witch possesses, but it also revealed characteristics that any witch can have. If I remember correctly, Wanda was way more powerful than Agatha. But if I also remember correctly, for a moment in WandaVision, Wanda was defenseless against her. But the reason Agatha made Wanda look defenseless wasn't because she was suddenly more powerful than Wanda. It was because she used runes. As Agatha explained, a witch can overpower another by using runes, and only the witch who casts them can use magic within their boundaries. This means that Agatha didn't actually become more powerful than Wanda. She just prevented Wanda's magic from working inside her runes. Therefore, no matter how powerful an external magic or spell is, if it does not come from the witch who invoked the runes, it will not work within its boundaries. And we know that Wanda learned how to use her own runes, because she literally used them around the entire town of Westview to defeat Agatha in their final battle. So now, we know there's a way Wanda can prevent any magic from working, and that she learned exactly how to do it. Now we just have to add the final piece of the puzzle. In the last scene of WandaVision, Wanda decided to isolate herself. Not only because she knew she had made a lot of enemies after what happened in Westview, and that she was being hunted, but also to study the Darkhold to be able to get her kids back, exactly like she tried to do in Multiverse of Madness. And to do that, she had to make sure that even if someone like Strange found her, he would be defenseless against her. Doctor Strange was well aware of the existence of the Darkhold, and Wanda knew the basics about Strange and Kamartaj, so there was a slim chance that Stephen Strange could sense it immediately and try to stop her. As we saw, she stayed hidden there until the beginning of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And importantly, the events of WandaVision happened before No Way Home. So she had already invoked her runes from the end of WandaVision through to Multiverse of Madness. There was no way Strange's memory-erasing spell affected her. She needed to protect herself in every possible way to make sure no one could interfere with her plans to get her children back. Not like what happened in Westview with Agatha and Sword. That whole experience taught her that simply changing reality wasn't enough to stop someone from invading her space and ruining everything. And Agatha not only showed Wanda the mistake she made, but she also taught Wanda how to fix her mistake when she talked about the witch's runes. This time, Wanda had everything aligned to make her wishes come true, and by accident, she also avoided Strange's spell. This could also explain why Strange didn't detect anything wrong when he went to visit Wanda, because if her runes were activated, his powers couldn't work. And without his powers, he couldn't detect Wanda's dark magic. Although I don't know if this is good news for Peter, because here we're talking about someone who made a lot of really big mistakes, and someone who was never exactly a big fan of Tony Stark, unlike Peter. But ever since the final scene of Multiverse of Madness, even though we know Wanda is still alive, we don't really know how she's behaving right now. Still, I do see potential in her becoming a guide for Peter, because Peter and Wanda definitely have a lot in common when it comes to tragic stories. In a way, their situations are almost the same. Because of a spell, Peter Parker's world turned upside down, and the same can be said for Wanda. Even though her kids were never truly real, and Vision and Pietro were also created versions, in her mind it was all real. So she also lost everyone. She's basically alone too, just like Peter. And after all the mistakes she's made, if she's anything like Tony Stark, she would have learned from them, and could even become a kind of life mentor to Peter. Because being completely alone in the world isn't something easy to handle. And if she remembers him and wants to help him, she could definitely make him feel a little less lonely. But now I want to know what you think. Is this a stretch? Or is it true and Marvel is just waiting for the right moment to reveal it to us? Let me know in the comments what you think.